Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time. Hey, thank you for coming back to our fourth episode already.
Oh my gosh, exciting.
Of Downsizing Roadmap. I'm Jody Roscoe.
I'm Heather Fisher.
And today we're going to talk, we're going to do a book review. And we're going to talk about a book called Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff. And Matt Paxton wrote this book. And gosh, as I was reading this book, I was like, oh, this is all the stuff we say. And then he has some really great stories that go along with it. But yeah, it was interesting.
I think it's a good representation that downsizing, while it's very hard, it's also very simple.
Yeah.
You know, that mix of actually working yourself through the path is hard because there's so many emotions and physical labor around it. But the steps themselves, that path is simple.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And get yourself on the path. And that's what we're trying to make everybody do. Just kind of realize that, you know, it's not that hard. We'll get on the path and do the things. And
yeah, I loved the book. I'm excited to go through it. I think it's a great resource for anyone that's joining us here because they're seeking information. This book we're going to talk about is a great layer and goes into detail on those steps with some really great advice.
I agree. If you haven't read this book, and I think you need to get the paper copy of this book. I have all kinds of tabs in it, but there are tons of resources in the back about specific things and what to do with them, and it's just, I think the paper copy is worth the buy.
Absolutely, so much to circle and underline and go back to later.
Yeah. So Matt Paxton wrote this book, and he tells a little bit about his story in the beginning. And I think similar to us, it's something that happens in your life that brings you to it. And so that's what happened with him. I think he was 24 years old. He went to college. He got a job. He got fired from his job. And then he went home to be with his dad. And then right after that, his dad was diagnosed with cancer. And
passed, sadly, very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so some of the lessons that he learned while his dad was still alive was that his dad's friends came over and just told stories with him and shared some time with him. And he said his dad's favorite thing was to give parties. And so that's what he did. He didn't want to get rid of his stuff. He wanted to, give parties and be with the people that he cared about, which is really what you should be doing.
Exactly. I was going to say, I'm fully on board with that philosophy.
Yeah.
You do all the preparing way before you're in a crisis situation. So you can just enjoy.
Well, I don't think he did the preparing before he got to the crisis situation, but when he got to the crisis situation, I do think he handled it correctly. And he just, kind of did, spent the time with the people.
Right.
And so he realized that stories were what was going to keep his dad alive after he was gone. And so then he ended up with a 4,400 square foot house or whatever it was, full of stuff that all reminded him of his dad. And one of the things he says in the book is, I didn't actually want to keep everything. I just couldn't stand the thought of getting rid of my father's stuff. And I think that is so true. We don't actually want the things, but we think we're getting rid of the memories.
Yeah, or getting rid of shifting the person out of our life.
Yeah.
If they can't be there.
Yeah, which isn't the case at all. The memories are really and the stories around the memories. We're going to come back to stories over and over and over, you guys. So that is really going to be something that we talk about a lot, and how are you going to get your stories out. But that was kind of his aha that he found, that he got from doing that and going through his dad's house. And he talks about in the book about how that all happens. But he ends up with a 9-step process. I'm going to say the steps real quick, and then we'll kind of dig into them.
Yeah.
Okay, so step 1 is uncover the stories behind the clutter. Step 2 is define your finish line, which means, well, we'll talk about what it means in a second. Step 3 is take the first baby steps. Step 4 is sort through your pictures and your documents.
The hard stuff.
The hard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Step 5 is decide what to keep and to build your legacy list. And we'll talk about what a legacy list is. And I love this idea. Step 6 is deciding what to give away. So keep, give away. Step 7 is, did I miss a step? Cleaning up. Oh, deciding what to sell. It's not on this page. Step 7 is deciding what to sell. So keep, give away, and then sell, and then cleaning up, and then moving forward. Because I think that's really the other part of what it's really about is what that's going to look like. So your stories and your future. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So step 1, we're going to go into that. So uncover the stories behind the stuff. And after he did his dad's house, he thought, oh my gosh, this is interesting. And somebody told him that Etta is her name, that she needed help and he could get paid for it. So he was like, oh, that sounds good, since he lost his job and he was living with his dad. And so he ended up going to help her, and he really thought he was just going to be moving around boxes and doing things that, getting rid of things. And what he ended up doing was listening to the story of her life through her stuff. And once he did that, he realized, this is what I want to do for my life, because it's really interesting. But what I love about his philosophy is that he celebrates those stories and he listens to those stories, and they have fun. They have fun with it.
I was thinking as I was reading this first part of the book that, if you're listening to this and you're that adult child that is helping someone that needs to, I think, we can tend to be like, okay, we just have to get this done. We have to get this done. And you think that taking the time and going slowly through items and listening to the stories will slow you down. But I really was feeling like doing that will speed up the process, because the person who's telling the stories can then move forward with getting rid of it and not putting up roadblocks, because they're feeling heard and enjoying sharing those stories and feeling all of that. So that resonated with me, that really when we may be helping someone, he talked a lot, I'm not sure which page it's on, he talked about like tips for being a good listener.
Yeah.
And that is maybe the skill you need more than sorting skills or knowing the resources. I mean, all of that will help it, but if you can give someone that good listening ear, you can help them through the process. So if you're helping someone else and that's why you're listening, that really stuck with me.
Yeah, I underlined it too. It said, if we don't know the stories behind the stuff, we'll never be able to freely let go of it. And if they can freely let go of it, it will speed up that process. Mm-hmm. But also, I feel like that's a part I missed with my mom, and I can't get that back, to be honest with you. I wish I had, read this book before that all happened, because I'm sure she wanted to tell me her stories, but she didn't know how to articulate that's what she needed to let it go. And I didn't know to ask her to do that. So it's, we were just a little off on that, but I wish we had been able to do more of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, an interested audience. And so, that can be your family, that can be a friend, that can be a professional. That's what he does. He's a professional, and
professional listener.
Yeah, he's a professional listener, and then he carries some boxes.
Yes.
So it just find somebody that will, listen to that and enjoy hearing about your life. Yeah. I think that's really cool. And a huge, huge part of it, really probably it's step 1, but I think it's one of the bigger parts of it. Yeah. Step 2 is define your finish line. So he's talking about deciding where to move and what that can look like. And so we talk about this in our downsizing class about, getting a little bit dreamy about what your future can look like. And we know that it can be kind of paralyzing. He says the same thing. And I'm just going to read a little section about that, because this is really about your mindset about moving. And it says, he writes, based on my personal and professional experiences, I found that what keeps us from looking ahead is memories. Isn't that funny? The back keeps us from the forward. Surprisingly, it's often not the fear of losing old memories that keeps us in place. Rather, it's we're afraid to let go and move on because we fear we're not going to make new memories in a different environment. And we know the past and we know the present, but we know that memories will be made here and the people that we know in our current location. We know the memories we've already made here, but we don't know what memories we're going to make and who we're going to meet and what that's going to look like for the future. And that's scary. And I thought, wow, that is really true.
Yeah, his personal story in the book of almost, passing up on, his next, I think they were engaged at the time, and moving to be with his future wife, and going and so many good things happening, and he was almost paralyzed and, almost walked away from that because of that fear
Right.
of losing
'Cause
what
he'd
was
lived-
comfortable.
He'd lived there his whole life, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, moving to a new town and not knowing anyone is scary, but he knew his future wife and
Yeah.
had his kids. And I think reframing everything into something that is a positive instead of a negative is really where you have to be, really in life in general.
I was going to say a good life
Not
lesson.
just downsizing, but really, yeah. And so he just kind of in this chapter goes through the options of where you can go. So
Staying put,
Yeah.
smaller place, independent living communities, assisted living, skilled care. There's a whole list that are different choices for different reasons.
yeah. And one thing he says in this chapter too that I highlighted is that because we fear losing control, we're actually losing control because we're not taking action.
Yeah.
And so taking action is an action.
Yeah.
We all learned that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a good reminder. It's a good reminder that
Yeah.
just because, doing it, that seems scary, but not doing it is also a decision,
Yeah.
an action. So,
Yeah.
so he talks about all the different places you can go. And then he talks about potentially hiring a placement agency, and we literally just did a downsizing class today with somebody who that is their job, and they can navigate all of the different assisted living or skilled nursing or any kind of
Home care, independent. Yeah.
staying at home, what that looks like. They can navigate all of that for you. It's usually a free service, something I didn't even know existed, and it's amazing because there's so much to it financially, socially. There's so many pieces
Yeah.
to figuring out where you want to go next. And it may be a two-step process. Maybe it's, you're in a big house and you want to go to a condo for a while, and then you might want to go to, an independent living place.
Yeah.
So it might be that two-step process, in which case you're going to need a realtor to help you. Either way, you need a realtor to help you sell your house, but, help you find either a ranch home, something smaller, or a condo or something like that. But I would definitely, if you're thinking about some kind of an independent living situation, I would definitely, or place like that, I would definitely hire somebody or talk to somebody.
Yes. They were saying today, I mean, if you're only choosing a place once, you're starting with a Google search or, any kind of a list. It's overwhelming. And even information about those places changes so frequently if they change ownership or regulations change. I mean, the picture of what each place has to offer, someone that is just doing it for themselves or a family member can't possibly know all of the information that people who are in these communities day after day can just give you that guidance and suggestion.
Yeah, so they know the places that have great care. They know financially what to look for, and there's so
What
many
benefits you might qualify for.
Mhm.
Exactly.
so many pieces to it. So, so he has also in here his top 10 tips for choosing a new home.
Right up our alley.
Yeah, right up our alley. So number one is deciding on the life you want to live there. So we talk about that. That's back to the getting dreamy. Choose it by what that looks like. decide if you want to transition once or twice, those kind of things. So I think that's an interesting list that he has going on. Drive around the neighborhoods and towns you're considering. So if you're thinking of somewhere that you haven't lived before, go visit it. Go see what that looks like. That's actually the same if you're going to go to an independent living place.
Yeah.
Go look at those. And I think some of this stuff is hard stuff to talk about, and we'll talk about other things that are hard to talk about, like what you want your funeral to look like, not today, but things like that. But those are all things that just need to be planned. It's not happening right now necessarily, but you need to plan it. And then, you feel more comfortable because you have a plan.
When you future plan those things and factor in what is likely to happen to all of us down the road, when you know what the plan is going to be at those stages, you can live comfortably in the stage that you're at.
Yes.
Because you're done. So I think location wise too, thinking about, I'm fine, I'm out driving everywhere now, but is there a point where, driving longer distances to be close to my doctors or my family or
Right.
the areas I love, my church, things like that, all of that on this list are great things to get that full package.
Yeah, it's a good list. So just kind of consider, again, kind of make a little visual, dream board of what you want that future to look like. Are you traveling? Are you closer to your family? What does that look like? And then, be able to find that in a house.
I loved the part in this section where he was talking about creating new versus trying to recreate the old in the new space.
Yes.
And I think we have seen this with many clients. And, when you are getting dreamy and looking at what amenities or what your life looks like in that new space, when you have a vision, you can create that new vision. If you haven't taken the time to make that vision, then you are just trying to recreate the old.
Yes.
And it won't work. And
Yeah.
you won't be quite as happy because it won't be the same, but it won't be new what you dreamed about.
Right. And so he does say, right, I underline this. If you can afford to splurge for some new stuff, I find that even a few new throw pillows makes anybody appreciate the surroundings more. More extravagant, spring for a new bedspread and a mattress, but take some things that make you feel comfortable, but don't necessarily trying to recreate something exactly in a place.
Even he was saying,
that
like, don't
isn't.
put your bed on the same facing wall and the same table beside it, just rearrange it. I know as a kid, I loved like rearranging my
Oh,
bedroom
yeah.
and it was like brand new. I have a new room
Oh,
because I rearranged everything, every couple months.
Me
Because,
too.
that
so
was my
funny.
hobby. But I
did
think
too.
that, that mindset of like, it can be the things that make me comfortable, the things I love. You don't have to go spend a fortune, but some of those small changes to use something in a different way or to, just create that new environment, even if it's not all new stuff,
Yeah.
is a great way to make the transition not feel like you lost the
Again,
old.
a positive.
Yeah, back to a positive.
Creating a new and better. So
Yes.
the quote he wrote on that is, but really what matters is the new life that you want, not the stuff that you take with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So it starts with planning and thinking at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably getting rid of more stuff than you think.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so step 3 is take the first baby steps. And so he has a 10-minute sweep is what he calls it. And he says just clean every day for 10 minutes. And even if you don't feel like it, 5 days a week, he
Yeah.
says.
Take
you can
the
take the
weekends
weekends off. But every day for 10 minutes. And it's really more about getting in the habit of cleaning or decluttering than it is of, exactly what you got rid of that day. And often what will happen is you will get into it and take more than 10 minutes
Yeah.
and get yourself rolling. And getting the rolling is the hardest part. But also the habit creating is what's super important about it, is creating that habit of just doing the 10 minutes. And what was yours when you had the kids? You had something
Like
really
the
similar.
quick 100. Yeah. And we would just go and grab 100 things that could be moved out of the house. And that feels like a big number when you first say it, but it can just be quick and be all the stuff that you just walk past, and, junk mail or school papers at the time in my life when that was what piled up. And
so
I can do that.
She told me about this, and I did it for 3 days in a row. I think I did. And it really was. I mean, it sounds like 100 things, but I cleaned 100 things out of my pantry, kitchen, because there's stuff that's expired. I mean, you just don't realize, and you think, I can't possibly have that much stuff. But the statistic is 300,000 items in the average American house. So 100 things is hardly a drop in the bucket of what that looks like.
And
so
we talk about it, and then he was saying it, and in the book, and we've heard it from other sources, but never start. I mean, I think the 10 minutes a day or doing a quick 100, or we say in our classes, start with the easy stuff.
Yeah.
It's all about gaining the habit and some momentum.
Yep.
Get some quick wins. Like, wow, I cleaned every day this week, decluttered, 10 minutes every day. It's not really about what you accomplished. Eventually, it'll be about what you accomplished, but you've accomplished, you haven't procrastinated.
Right.
And that once the ball starts rolling, it's so much easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
And once it's just in your daily routine as a habit, like if you did the dishes every day, you get that habit done, and then that's done. And then it feels weird if you aren't doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so it'll just turn into something that you do, because after you move, you want to keep that habit. You just want to keep that habit. If something comes in, something goes out, you don't want to. It's like, when I was little and I just didn't clean my room like my mom told me to. And so it was just, piled up and piled up and piled up until one day I had to clean it, and it took me like 10 hours.
And it's the worst day ever. Your friends are out playing and you just want to do it.
And so you don't want to turn that, you don't want to turn around to turn to the next place and do the same thing to it, right? So you just want to get that habit going.
Yeah.
So set a deadline. You need to commit to your deadlines of, hold yourself accountable to what that is, but set yourself a deadline. Understand your why. We already kind of talked about that. The reasons that you want to get the clutter out of your life, back to that dreamy future, and what's that going to look like? What does your vision board look like? What does less stress, look like in your life?
I think he said, no, you don't need more stuff. Talking about bins and labels.
Oh, yeah.
And a labeler and all of the things. And I think that, at some point there might be some room for a few things that keep organization better, but those come at the end.
Yeah.
I think the worst thing you can do is buy all of the organization, looking at what you have, thinking, I need to organize all of this. I think,
no more bins.
He said it. We know it's true. Declutter first.
Yeah.
And then when you have a picture of the smaller amount of things, there's helpful, drawer organizers or things, but don't start with, it will be better if I just have all of this stuff in matching bins. It
Right.
won't work.
I mean, we can end up like that, but if you buy 57 bins, you'll keep 57 bins worth of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, and he said that's a way of procrastination too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh gosh, I have to organize it, and it's like actually not going through it, right? You're procrastinating
You've
doing
just
it.
brought in more stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, choose a space that sets you up for success, so don't feel like you need to tackle the hardest parts. Start with your junk drawer. We literally say this like practically verbatim. I had not read this book. We have had this class for years, and I'm like, oh, we say exactly that. Start with your junk drawer, areas that you tend to put things once you are kind of done using them, like the garage or the attic or the basement are probably going to be a little bit easier. And, start now. That's get it done.
I really liked the permission for the maybe pile.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I've moved from, a house I was in a long time into a transition house, and, plans for the next house. And so some of the stuff I packed away in storage, I I mean, I feel like that's my maybe pile, because at the time I moved from the house I'd been in for a long time, it was decision fatigue and feeling
Yeah.
like I'm giving away so much in, donating or going other places. And so I did get to that point where we see many of our clients, like, I can't just give away one more thing. And so I loved that permission for the maybe pile, where as you're getting started, you don't have to make, finality decisions on everything. It's
Yeah.
okay to let something sit for a minute, a day, a week, a month, however long, and then revisit. And once you've gotten rid of other things and realized that it's okay, those maybes become
Easier to let go of.
easier to let go of. And I don't know if he had a stat on it, but he said most of the maybe pile ends up moving out of the space because it just had to marinate for a minute.
Well, and I think if you're working in a specific day and things start ending up, almost everything starts ending up in the maybe pile, it's just time to be done, because your decision fatigue has taken over and you just can't decide one more thing.
Yeah.
And so you're just keeping everything because you can't decide anymore. And so watch yourself as you're doing it. If that maybe pile just is like, oh, maybe, I don't know, then it's time to,
Take a break.
Yep. Go celebrate the things you already did today and come back another day. But yeah, I love the maybe pile. He also talks about freeing yourself from guilt. It's, building the life that you want, not the life that you think you should have or someone else thinks that you should have. We talk about guilt a lot. And also loving who you actually are. If you have a bunch of gym equipment and you're really not sporty, or you used to be sporty, it's okay. Who are you today? Who are you going to be? That's really what we're going with. Who are you going to be? And what does that look like? And are they going to use the equipment that has dust all over it? Probably not. Maybe you'll find, a yoga class with friends that you go to. It's not like you have to give up fitness, but maybe that just wasn't the path.
Yeah, I think it's finding who you are and what you truly want to use.
And embracing it, not back to not somebody that you think you should be.
Yeah.
Or if you think you should really be that person, go be that person. Yeah, right. And then take that time to celebrate and give yourself that pat on the back of what you've done today and what you did, in the past week, month, whatever. Celebrate. Take that time. Give yourself that credence, because we that's another book, another day. But The Gap and the Gain is an amazing book about that. But just that we just are always, what have you done today? What's next, and not giving ourselves that credence for what we've done, because it's hard.
Well, and I think back to that 10 minutes a day gives you those check marks and those wins versus the weight of, oh, I didn't do that yet.
Yeah.
Just small gains.
Yep. Step 4, sort through pictures and documents. So
The hard stuff.
Yeah. I actually am not going to go super deep on this one, because I honestly think we need podcasts on both pictures and documents. And so because it's that deep, pictures are really powerful, and that's because they're the clearest depiction, he writes. They're the clearest depiction of our past, visibly reflecting our triumphs and our tragedies, and that's what makes letting them go so hard. But there is definitely a path to dealing with your pictures, and we'll talk about it, I think, in another one.
Yeah.
Just some quick little things about it. You want to lose that bulk. You're going to have a bunch of pictures that you don't need as you go through them. The triples, because that's what you always have, the triples, the giraffes, the beach, the landscape, there's all of those, the blurry ones, the ones where your face doesn't look good. Yeah. Because now we have thousands of digital pictures. We take one until we get it right. And still we need to get rid of those. That's another whole thing.
I think we have boxes of photos of places we visited from times when we didn't have the internet, in our hands.
Yeah.
And so maybe there was more of a place for that, but I know that the professional photographers are much better at photographing the beach or the landmarks that I've been to. So I think is definitely an easy place to start. Is
Yeah.
if there's no people that mean anything to you in the
Right.
photos, start with that.
Right. Or you
Because-
don't know them anymore. Like, I mean, that's sad, but that can be a thing where, you know, that those
Yeah.
stories, again, they get lost. So, yeah. So, that's the gist of it. And then there's just different ways that you can save them. In the end, he's saying no more than 2 shoe boxes. You should be able to pick them up and walk away with the amount of photos that you have. And maybe even none if you're going to digitize them and, you know, use them in that way. So
Yeah.
we can talk about photos on another day. Paperwork also, same thing. It needs its own episode. But he has a great list in here of the papers that you actually need to keep, and they're way less than you actually think. You do not need your taxes from 1972, or well, I found those at my mom's house and many other years.
Manuals for items that you don't own anymore.
Right, or even manuals for items that you do, because that stuff is still online, you
Yeah.
know, and magazines and all of that. There's so much paper, and so he suggests that you kind of put all the paperwork that's important together, and make a little book, which we actually have a little book for that. So we'll talk about all of that later. But he has some great information, and it is probably one of the bigger things to have to deal with is all the paper in your house,
Yeah.
and then what to do with it afterwards. Shredding mostly is what he's talking about, and then how to create a system later so you don't get all that paper again. That's another one.
Yeah.
So step 5 is decide what you want to keep and build your legacy list. So the legacy list is kind of his plan. He actually has a show now. He used to be on Hoarders. He was one of the people that was on Hoarders, but now he has his own show, and it's called Legacy List. So that's what I think he feels is like his biggest piece of what he brings to the table of helping people figure out what their legacy list is. And he says it's basically passing on a legacy of memory-packed items is a way to keeping ourselves and loved ones alive when we're apart. So what you'll need to do here is change your mindset from getting rid of stuff to selecting a few legacy items that will, and I love this, enhance your life today and best relay who you are to your next generation. So it's going to take some thought about what those things are and who you are, but also it's enhance your life today. So it can't be things that just sit in a box in the basement because they're you. Like, they have to be part of you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, we talk about honoring things that honor our loved ones when we're going through their stuff or have stuff given, but it's like honoring yourself. Like, don't sum up your own life in a dusty box in the basement.
Yeah.
Just be that person.
Yes.
And that's how, that legacy lives on.
Yeah.
Use those things and be that.
Yeah. So one of the things that I have from my grandma that I feel like is one of her legacy things is I had given her a book a long time ago and asked her to write her recipes out in a book in her own handwriting. And so we copied that book and gave it to everybody in the family. But food was love to her, and so that was her legacy, and so that's very special to me. So things like that, what does that person evoke to you, or what do you think you evoke to people? And he has a great list of questions to get you started in here about how you grew up and what was your first car and your first love, and he has some questions to kind of get you thinking about who you are and what that might be.
I loved the example he gave in the book about, I think it was his aunt, I'm not sure, a family member that had the trolley tokens, and he ended up not only keeping them because, she had always told him, even though the city she lived in didn't even have the trolley anymore, she was convinced the trolley will be back someday and I'll be sitting pretty because I have all these tokens ready to go. And, so that's what he kept because, it was such a quirky story that reminded him. But then he not only kept them, he ended up using those tokens, turned them into cufflinks at his wedding.
Yeah.
And then was able to share that story with all of his groomsmen
Right.
about where they came from and what they were, and that was his gift. So any way that you can not only keep that legacy for yourself, but then continue passing that on so other people get to know someone that they may not have even met because of generations or
Right. That's it. It's the stories
proximity.
and sharing the stories as they go down the line and using it at the same time. That's like the perfect story about it.
Yeah.
So, so the other thing is, your kids are going to want stuff. Everybody's like, people are like, my kids don't want any of this stuff. And that's not true. They just are going to want things that maybe you didn't pick out for them. So their memories of you, let them have the things that really evoke their memories of you. So step number 7 is, or what are we on? Step number 6, decide what to give away. So I think all of it then is, based on what you've decided what your legacy is. And then, I think it's easier to give things away once you've done that. And he talks about upcycling, and he talks about places where you can let things, donate. And I love that he says decide what to give away first and then decide what to sell, because a lot of our things aren't going to have a lot of value, but they might have a lot of value to somebody that you give it to. And so that's really important.
Yeah, he said something, I'm not sure this is a direct quote, but it was along the lines of doing that first. Sometimes it feels better to get it to the right place, get something to the right place rather than to get a few bucks for it.
Right.
And that's so true.
So true.
Yeah.
Whether that's people that you know, and if it's not people that you know, he goes down. So the next ones are give away, sell, donate, those kind of chapters are in that. And he has some really great tips in those chapters around it. But it might be charities that you're giving it to that are specific, and he has some of those in here as well, specific places that need those things. And that also feels better than just kind of a generic giveaway,
Yeah,
I think.
I think we've run across lots of unique collections of things, people with train sets and things like that. And there's oftentimes, then there's a train club that might love to have that, or, art supplies. We had a client that had, was a painter and had so many art supplies, and she was able to donate that to an art school that served our community, underprivileged after school classes for that. And that it does just feel different than just boxing everything to a general place.
No, it feels so much better. And we literally just talked to somebody the other day, and she said, I have this Fiesta wear, and I have somebody special in my life I'd like to give it to. Do you think I should do that, or do you think I should sell it? And we're like, give it to that person. I think the value, she'll feel good about it, the person will feel good about it, and the value, isn't as much as giving it to the right people.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot in there about giving it away, donating it, selling it. We will have other chapters or
episodes.
Thanks. Other episodes on all of that specifically, because those are big things as well. Estate sales and auctions and all those kind of different ways that you can get rid of your things. So he talks a lot about what that looks like. Set low expectations for how much your stuff is worth.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's why giving it to somebody important is better, because most of our stuff, there might be some things here and there, but most of it isn't worth a ton of money. I loved how he said to make a spreadsheet. And so you can go and look, if you think you're going to sell something, go and look where, eBay, any of those places, Facebook Marketplace, whatever, and kind of try to figure out what that pricing looks like. And his thing was, if all the used grandfather clocks are $500, then selling yours for $1,000 is probably not good math, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes that'll take the emotion out of it if you kind of go and look and make a spreadsheet and say, these are the 5 that I found, and this is how much they were. Because you might in your head, because you have so much emotion around it and it's so sentimental to you, you're like, oh my gosh, that's probably worth $5,000.
Yeah.
And so I liked that kind of way to be able to bring you down out of it.
Back to reality.
Which is, a lot of the stuff has to go, and a lot of it is not going to be worth a lot of money, because the stuff is only stuff, and it's only valuable when you talk about your stories around it. We're back to that. So step 8 is clean up. And so cleaning up is just that. And he has a bunch of cleaning tips in there, including don't fall through the basement or through the attic.
Don't step through the attic floor when you're up there.
Right. Be careful, wear safety glasses. If you find a gun, what to do with that. So he has some really great or dangerous things. There's, sometimes people are storing things that fireworks or dangerous things that might need to be put somewhere safe. So I think the cleaning up is not just cleaning, but there is a lot literal cleaning. You do have to do that before you get your house ready to sell. And it's different cleaning than you would do for a regular house. So you're cleaning the baseboards and you're cleaning the grates and you're cleaning the fans and inside the cabinets and all those things. Oh, this page, these were great. These were the top 10 secret hiding places for money.
Yes,
so
that was so interesting.
It was really interesting. So that's a good page. So when you get this book, you can read it.
Shake out every book before you donate.
Yeah.
And
toilet tanks, freezers, pantries, bookshelves, under the floorboards, old trunks, closets, drawers, and in the backyard. Oh my gosh, how are you going to dig up stuff in the backyard?
How would you
and birthday cards. They forget, they put the card and then they forget. I've even had that with my kids when I was going through their stuff, like that they just put the card away and didn't realize that they'd missed a gift card or a birthday or whatever. So
happens to all of us.
So cleaning up is it. Then the house will be ready to sell at that point. But then step 9, and I love that he puts this as that last step, is move forward, right? Moving forward, actually physically moving, saying goodbye to the house, taking pictures of it, taking that time to, walk through the rooms. And
I like what he said, too, in the taking pictures. Remember to take pictures before you pack everything up.
Yeah.
So you have the pictures of each room as you lived in it.
Yeah.
And then take a second set of pictures.
Yeah.
So you just see the house. But you'll treasure just those pictures of the rooms as you lived in them before you do all of this. So maybe that needs to be way back, like step 0.
Step 0. Take pictures of the house before you start.
But I think people can treasure that.
And feel the feelings. He's like, just feel them. It might be sad because even when things are forward moving are great, it's still sad to leave some things behind sometimes, and that's okay. So feel those feelings. I love that. And he says in there, honestly, he made the move, and it was really hard for him, and he made the move, and then after he'd been there a little while, he said, I don't even remember the things I gave away. I don't remember a single thing. And I've had that personally experience.
Absolutely.
That I cleaned out things and I couldn't tell you 6 months later what was in the box that I donated. So it'll all be okay.
Yeah. I think we see that over and over with ourselves and our clients.
Yep. So this is an awesome book. Matt Paxton, Keep the Memories, Lose the Stuff. I would get it. It has great tips in it. It has some great resources in it. And I learned a couple things out of it. And I also learned we're right on track on all the other things that we're doing. But I definitely really enjoyed that book.
Yeah, I think it will be a great resource for anyone that dives into it. So awesome. So we will be back for our next episode. What will we be talking about next, Jody?
Next time we're going to be talking about the mindset of downsizing. So that first step, that's kind of that dreamy step that we talk about a lot. We're going to delve into the mindset of downsizing.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to see you. And here's the next episode.
Yeah, if you have any questions, get in touch with us. We're happy to answer them. And any comments, we'd love to hear them. So
awesome.
Talk to you next time.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.